So back to my patch tool. Let's see if I can find it. Maybe I want to take out these bright spots. Okay. And I'd probably want to take out all the details so I don't clone or repeat those details in there. Let's look at some trickier areas and see. Now that one worked pretty good. So I think that we're going to have a problem with this one. If I try and go all the way around this and capture that lay, let's see if we can cause a problem here. And if I were doing this correctly, I'd probably fix where I'm going to sample it from. So you can see what happens with the patch tool when you blend over or cross over colored areas. So that doesn't work so well. We're going to undo that. Okay. And let me teach you the last tool. So once again, I'm going to click outside that to deselect it. And then the other tool is called the clone stamp tool. Okay. Make sure you're not on the pattern stamp, but the clone stamp. And that's what we'll use there. And we're going to zoom up really close. One critical thing about the clone stamp tool is you do not want to work too big. There's a term called Photoshop or pixelated, and you can tell that an image has been photoshopped, especially if you overuse this tool. So very carefully, we're going to come in and try and take out some of this information. Now, this is an older tool, but it works very similar to the healing brush in that we've got to set a sample area with the Option click, or if you're on a Windows, the Alt click. So we're going to sample this area right here. So I'm going to Alt click here, and typically this one's aligned. So it's going to stay aligned with the Option click and then the first cover up that we do. So as soon as we do that, you can see that plus mark back where that original one is, and it's cloning right there. Now, once again, small areas. You don't want to go too big with this one, because if you do too much, it'll look photoshopped. So what I'm going to try and do is fill in some of this area. Maybe sample a little bit from both sides. Try and come at it from both directions. Okay. Keeping some of that same value and tone. I might be able to even sample some of these flowers and work in this gray background. But I'm just trying to create some separation from where these areas of contrasting color are located. Okay, and if I can get it good enough, then it can come back in with the patch tool and cover up the bulk of this spot with the patch tool. Okay, so like I said before, just working on filling in this. Now you can see that sampled area. If I were to cross over right here, see how it picks up that other color? That's what we got to be careful of on that align tool. Okay, and you want to make sure you sample several areas. It gets a little bit repetitive, and you can see that the photo starts becoming or looking altered if you overuse this tool. Okay. So a lot of times people will say, hey, that looks photoshopped, or that doesn't look real. It's been restored or digitally enhanced. You'll hear that a lot with a lot of the magazine covers where they change the way people look. Okay. So to avoid that issue, we want to mix up where we're sampling from. Okay. And you can see that there's quite a bit of a value difference there. So we'll try and move some of this color in. Okay. And now that I've got that, I've separated those areas. Now my patch tool should work better. Okay. I'm going to cover up a few of these. Take out a few of these blemishes. In fact, I'm going to switch over to the patch tool. So I can clean up this background. And now, let's take a couple more of these blemishes out. These little spots. So now I should be able to make this patch tool work. Now right here I didn't quite get it enough. If I hold shift, I can actually expand that area, make that a little bit bigger if I need to. Okay. Or if I do too much, I needed to take some away, I can hold the minus tool, come around there and subtract some of that selection. So the Alt key will let us, or Option key on a Mac will let us subtract from a selected area, or the Shift key will let us add to a selected area. So if you need to refine those selections, that's how you do it. And that will work with any of the selection tools, any tool in Photoshop that uses a selection. So the Shift will add to it, and the Alt or Option key will take away. Now if I drag this up to the sampled area, should get a better looking background. See how that fixed that up? And this gets a little bit repetitive, so I'll probably have to come back in here and take out some of these shadows, fix those up. In fact, that's a little bit big. You don't usually want to work that big if you can help it. Okay. So just start randomizing some of this up a little bit, changing the color and the value in there. And then we can come back and start taking out these blemishes, scratches, whatever is in our photos. Okay? And that's basically photo restoration. That and a lot of time. So here we've got a little bit of shadow. If we drag it down and try and match that shadow, usually it works out okay. You can see there's some repetitive, or the image looks a little bit weird, but not too bad. So those are the restoration tools. Once again, patch tool, click and hold on it. You can see the healing brush tool, the red eye tool, okay, and the sponge tools right here, and the clone stamp tool as well. So let's assume that we're all done. And one thing I should mention is don't forget to save. As you work, you don't want to put in several hours of work and then have Photoshop crash. Photoshop's a fairly stable program. We don't have a lot of trouble with it crashing anymore, but you definitely don't want to go for a half hour or an hour and forget to save and have the program crash. So save early, save often. That's what they say. It's a good thing to remember.